Hi students, welcome to online class. So in this video we are going to discuss about chapter 2 data abstraction. So in the last video we discussed about lists and tuples. In this video we are going to discuss about data abstraction in structure. So in the last video we have discussed that the data abstraction can be achieved through tuples and list. So we can implement through list and tuple. Now in this video we are going to discuss that the data abstraction technique can be used with the structure. Structure in the sense we can implement in through the class. We can implement through the class. Right. Let's see that abstraction in that you can give a name to a set of memory cells. So what they are saying is the name of the abstraction can be given to the memory cells. Each and every data is stored in the memory. So in the memory we can give the name for the memory that can be given as abstraction. Simply they are saying that the memory name can be a abstraction name, right? For instance, in the game Mastermind you must keep track of a list of 4 colors that the player guesses. So what we want to do is whenever we play the Mastermind game, we want to keep it in your mind. What are the colors the player is going to guess? So we want to track the 4 colors. So at the time you want to store the 4 colors in your mind in different places. So our brain will store the 4 colors in different places. So instead of doing like this, instead of using 4 separate variables, color 1, color 2, color 3 and color 4, you can use a single variable called predict. You can use a single variable called predict. So in that predict we can store all the 4 colors: red, blue, green and some other color, any other color. It may be a green color or a yellow color, whatever it may be. It may be the same color or different color. So that is what here they are saying. So instead of storing different colors in different places in your memory, you can store one variable. That particular variable can hold all the 4 colors. It's just like an array. One or more values can be stored in one variable. The same method, right? See, why we want to implement this concept? What about the list? Whether the list does not use this particular concept? No. List do not allow us to do, because the various parts of the multi-item object. See here, what list do not allow us to do is the name of the various parts of the multi-item object. So the multi-item object is not allowed in list. Tuple also does not allow the same. But when we go with the concept called structure, that is class, it is used to allow to name the various parts of the multi-item object. In case of a predict, you don't really need to name the parts. Using an index to get each color suffixes. So through the index we can access the name of the each and every part, that is name of each and every color. But in case of something more complex like a person, we have a multi-item object where each item is named thing. For example, instead of taking the predict, that is color, if we take a multi-item object called person, This particular multi-item object person contains different parts. What are the different parts? What are the different names? The person might have first name and last name, and then the person might have some ID. It may be a mobile number. ID means it is used for identification purpose. It may be an employee code or like an Aadhaar number, unique identification. We can have some other number. It may be a mobile number or it may be an employee number. So the first name, the last name, then the identification number, the ID, and then the email. So these are the four different parts: first name, last name, ID, and the email. These are the four different names that is contained by one particular object called a person. Right? See here, one could use a list to represent a person. How we can use the list method? What is meant by list? Last video itself we have discussed. One or more values can be given within square bracket and it is separated by comma. So when we use, one could use a list to represent a person. How? Person equal to. So within square bracket, what is his first name? Padmashri. What is his last name? Bhaskar. And what is his ID? 9994 222 1234. So it may be his mobile number, right? That is his identification number. And then email. So computerscience@gmail.com. But this representation, such a representation does not explicitly specify what each part represents. Here there is no such representation. Padmashri means whether it is a first name or a last name. Bhaskar means whether it is a first name or a last name. There is a question mark. Which is first name, which is last name. From this we can identify that computerscience@gmail.com, it may be an email ID. Right? But what about whether 9994221234 is a mobile number or it is an ID or any other number? We can't identify. Right? So this particular representation, that is this list representation, does not explicitly specify what each and every part represents. So there is no representation for each and every part. So instead of this, for this problem, instead of using the list, we are going to use the concept called structure construct. In OOPS language, that is in object oriented language, 11th standard itself we have studied class construct. Right? In second volume you might have studied this class concept. Class is a user defined data type. Right? Do you remember that? In object oriented programming language. So in this OOPS concept, we can represent multi-part object where each part is named and then each part is given a name. So instead of using the list or tuple concept, if we go with the structure construct, that is class construct, each and every part will be named. Each and every part will given a name. Right? Right. Let's consider the pseudocode. Class person. Here you want to understand that person is the class name. Right? Inside the class, they have created one function called creation. Right? Creation. From the parenthesis you can understand. Open parenthesis, close parenthesis. That is used to represent function. Right? Then what they have given? First name. First name, that is colon equal to. The operator name is assigned as or becomes. So first name becomes. So some double quotes they have given. They have started double quotes and then they have closed the double quotes. No value is assigned here. right? Like that they have given for last name. Last name is assigned as double quotes, open double quotes and then closed double quotes, then ID, then email. So everything they have assigned. The values are not specified here. Simply the pseudocode. From this pseudocode, what do you understand? What is the name of the class? Person is the class name. And then you see in this creation function, they have created each and every data is assigned with the name. So whenever here they are giving Padmashri, Padmashri is assigned to first name. Then when I assign Bhaskar, Bhaskar is assigned to last name. So some ID, some value will be given there. So here each and every data is assigned with the name. Each and every data is given a name. First name becomes first name assigned as, last name assigned as, last name becomes like that. So the new data type person is pictorially represented as. So by seeing this you can understand the pseudocode. Here the same pseudocode is going to be represented in a pictorial form. Now you see here. Can you understand, students? Here they have given person. So person is a class name. So here this is a multi-part data representation. This is called as multi-part data representation. Then see here what we are creating. Creation is a function. Function belonging to the new data type. Here the new data type represents person. New data type represents person. So we have created the new data type called person, right? So in this creation function, we have created first name, last name, ID and then email. So these are called as variables. These are called as variables belonging to the new data type. Belonging to the new data type. So belonging to the new data type means first name, last name, ID, email. All these things belongs to the new data type called person. Right? See here. So here person is the class. Person is the class. In this class they have created first name as a variable. So here they have given, you see here, first name becomes Padmashri. First name becomes Padmashri. How it becomes Padmashri? The data Padmashri is assigned to the variable. The data Padmashri is assigned to the variable first name. So like that they have assigned last name. Last name becomes Bhaskar. So here Bhaskar is the data, last name is the variable. So like that ID becomes 994221234. So here 994221234 is the data. ID is the variable. Then see the last one, email is equal to computerscience@gmail.com. So computerscience@gmail.com is the data. Email is the variable. So here they are calling it as field. Here they are calling it as field. Instead of giving the name as variable, here they are saying field. See here, setting a field called first name with the value Padmashri. Setting a field called first name with the value Padmashri. So like that they are given. Setting a field called last name with value Bhaskar. So like that they are given all the things. Setting the field called ID, value 994221234. So I think you might have understood here all these things. Field, value. And then what is here? Person is the class name. And then another important thing here you want to understand, what is P1. So last year itself we have studied whenever we discuss with the class, we want to create the object. So what is mean by object? The object is used to access the variables and functions. Object is used to access the variables and the member functions which are declared inside the class. So like that, here also whenever we use the concept called class, the class should be accessed by the object. So here P1 assigned as, or P1 becomes as person. This particular statement creates the object. This particular statement creates the object because the class contains some functions and variables. How these functions and variables can be accessed? Who will access the function and variables? The object can access the function and the variables. You consider the class. You consider the class, a real class. You are sitting in the school. You are studying in the school. You are sitting in the class. Who is accessing the students? Who is accessing the students means the teachers are accessing the students. The teachers are making the students to study. The teachers are making the students to gain knowledge. The teachers are making the students to learn something. So here the students are the variables and functions. The teachers are the objects. Right? Like that you can understand a real-time example. Right. So here they have given you the output for the first name. So when I assign the value to the variable, when I assign the value to the field, so what will be the output? Output of the first name is Padmashri. Right. Again they used to say, give the same thing. The class construct defines the form for multi-part object that represents the person. The class structure, it is used to define the multi-part. Except class, list or tuple will not define the multi-part object. Its definition adds a new data type. In this case, a type named person. So which is the new data type? Person is the new data type. Person is the new data type. Then once defined, we can create new variables of the same type. So whenever we create the class, we used to create the objects. The object belongs to the class data type. Whenever we create the class, we create the object. Why we are creating the object? The object is used to access the class variables and class functions. So once we define the class, we create new variables. That new variables is called an object, that is instances. Right? In this example, the person is referred to as the class or a type. In this example, the last example we discussed, what is the class name? Person is the class name. And then what is the object name? P1 is the object name. So here they are given the same thing. In this example, person is referred to as class. And then P1 is referred to as object or an instance. You think of a class. You can think of a class. Person as a cookie cutter. So once they create a cookie, they are called cookie cutters. They used to prepare the cookie and then they used to cut the cookie. So here the class name is considered as a cookie cutter, whereas P1 is the particular cookie. So whenever the cookie cutter, he used to create a cookie, he used to cut the cookies. Like here the class name is considered as a cookie cutter and P1 as a particular cookie. Now you think that using the cookie cutter you can make many cookies. So from this line what do you understand? Using the cookie cutter, that is using the class, we can create many objects. One class can have as many as objects. You think of the real-time example. A class contains many teachers. A class contains many students. Apart from that, that particular class, only one teacher will not go and then they won't take the class. For a one class, one or more teachers are allowed. You consider a Tamil teacher, you consider English teacher, or physics, or chemistry, or computer, or maths. Like that, many teachers, they will go to that class and then they will give the knowledge, they will make the students to study, they will make the students to learn something. So like that, using the class, we can create many objects for that class. So that is what here they are saying. Using the cookie cutter, you can make many cookies. Using the class, that is using the person class, we can create many objects. Many objects means not only P1, we can create the P2, P3, P4, P5, P6, as many as objects for the class person. Same way, using the class, you can create many objects of that type. So that is what in the last line itself we have explained. We can create many objects for the class data type. So far you have seen how a class defines data abstraction by grouping the related data items. So we have discussed the data abstraction with the concept called class. Right. A class is not just a data, it has functions defined within it. So already I told you, in the 11th standard itself you have studied. The class contains data members and member functions. Is it right or not? The same thing here also they are saying. A class does not contains the data alone. A class does not contains the variables alone. It has the functions also. Right? We can say such functions are subordinate to the class because their job is to do things with the data of the class. So the functions will not react individually. The functions will work with the variables. The functions will work with the data of the class. Right? They are the subordinate. They are not the main thing. They are the subordinate. They used to coordinate with the data. They used to coordinate with the data of the class, that is variable of the class. So what purpose the functions are created? It is used to modify. It is used to analyze the data of the person objects. Right. Therefore, we define a class as a bundled data and the functions that work on the data. So they are giving a definition. What is mean by class? Class is not a single thing. So it is a bundled one. Bundled one means it's a combined one. It's a bundled data and the functions that work on the data. So the function is going to work on the data. We cannot separate data and functions. We cannot individually separate the data and functions. The data will not work without the function. The function will not work without the data. Right? So therefore, we can define a class as bundled data and the functions that work on the data. I can say a simple example from this. If you take a human in real life, you take a human. You ask any human, can you live without brain? If you ask a question, he will say, No, without brain we cannot live. Why? Brain is very important. All the actions what we are doing, it is based on the brain. Then you ask another question, can you live without heart? That particular human will say that heart is very important. Without heart, how can we live? The heart used to pump the blood and then the blood used to circulate. Like that they used to say. So like that, whether brain is important or heart is important, both of them is important. One cannot live without another. Heart cannot live without brain. Brain cannot live without heart. So like that, class as a bundled data and the functions that work on that data. So from this you can conclude in this lesson the data abstraction is based on all those things, list, tuple, class. So the data abstraction technique can be implemented in all the places, in all the different techniques we can implement, and then we can consider a complex data can be represented in a simple way. So that is what here they are trying to explain. From this above all example and explanation, one can conclude the beauty of data abstraction is that we can treat complex data. The complex data can be represented in a simple manner. Right. I think you might have understood all these things. Data abstraction technique. So let's end the class. Up to this second lesson is over. So thank you students.